At Monday Night Football, and neighbors gear up against a new development.
This is Newscene 8.
Good evening, I'm Richard Anderson, and as you've just seen, the New Orleans Saints have been beaten by the New York Jets. Ron Swoboda will have details of the game later in the broadcast, and Margaret Dubuisson will take a look at Monday Night Football behind the scenes. But first, the Louisiana
High School Task
Corporation of ABC Sports. Newscene 8's Margaret Dubuisson got a look at what makes Monday Night Football work.
It's Monday night, and ABC Sports is on the road. Former New York Giant Frank Gifford says he still gets opening night jitters.
I've been 13 years, as a matter of fact, Margaret, and I still get the same butterflies as I used to when I played. Only up here, nobody hits you, at least visibly.
As Gifford preps for the broadcast, Monday night veteran Howard Cosell enters the booth. Cosell says for him, the Dome is a special place.
The Dome is a very important place in my whole life because some of the greatest events in the history of American sports took place here, and I had the privilege of working it.
The ever unpredictable Cosell. How do his colleagues feel about him?
Howard is a total professional, he really is. It doesn't mean I have to agree with everything he says. I certainly agree with his right to say it because he is a professional and totally dedicated to what he does, and I think he is a tremendous attraction of Monday Night Football.
The broadcast booth where the stars work is only one aspect of a mammoth effort that goes into Monday Night Football.
As far as the fans are concerned, they probably think most of the action takes place on the field. But for the people who produce Monday Night Football, this is where it all happens, the director's booth.
It is here where all the activity that we see on the screen is coordinated. The equipment shipped to each Monday night location is worth a fortune and fills 3 huge 18-wheelers.
It's worth quite a few $1 million. I don't know how many miles of cable we have. We use 11 manned cameras and 2 unmanned cameras. There are about 65 people roughly on the crew each week that travel from game to game. And there normally are 3 trucks. One houses the videotape area. One is just for maintenance and carries a lot of extra equipment, audio equipment and so forth. And the other is the main control room.
Margaret Dubuisson, Newscene 8 at the Superdome.
Often when pro athletes' career ends, they are caught off guard, just not prepared for the future. But in part 1 of our series, The Saints After Sunday, Jim Bergamo looks at 2 Saints whose off-season activities should make the years after their playing days a lot easier.
For 6 months of the year, it's Jim Kovach's job to inflict pain on others. For the remaining 6 months of the year, it's Jim Kovach's job to learn how to cure the pain of others. Kovach is a 5th-year linebacker with the Saints, but more important to his future, he's also a 4th-year medical student. Kovach has spent his off-seasons attending medical school at his alma mater, the University of Kentucky, but he's also involved in a special program which allows him to study and earn credit right here in New Orleans during the football season. Every Monday through Friday, Kovach rounds with Dr. Charles Brown at Baptist Hospital.
The important thing is that every day I'm doing something. Every day Dr. Brown is showing me something, and every day I think I'm becoming a little bit more well-rounded in terms of medicine.
Kovach hopes to specialize in gynecological oncology, which deals with tumors in the female reproductive tract.
I have a real interest in oncology, the study of cancer, because I feel that in the next 10 to 20 years, major advances are going to be made in this field.
Kovach has already made advances in his field, the football field. And that's why, upon graduation from medical school this June, Kovach intends to hold off on the next step in his medical career, an intern residency program.
We've worked so hard here to get a winner and finally have one here at New Orleans, and it's not something that you want to just walk away from, even though I know someday that I will. I think that I'll know when that time comes, and I just have to listen to my own body and listen to my own life, my own goals that I've set for myself.
Kovach's teammate, Rich Maudie, has endeared himself to Saints fans over the years as a special teams performer extraordinaire. During the football season, he concerns himself with 100 yards of real estate. But in the off-season, Rich becomes concerned with a heck of a lot more real estate. Together with a partner, Maudie owns everything from an aviation company in Lafayette to apartment complexes in this shopping center right here in the city.
Colleen, how you doing?
Fine.
How are you?
All righty. Is everything going fine with the new building in the back?
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Good.
Yeah.
Marty was advised to get into real estate the first year he was with the Saints, and he says it was good advice, unlike most football players receive.
As a football player, you get a lot of different opportunities to do a lot of crazy things. People always looking to asking for money. They've always got the best deal in town to double or triple your money, and I've seen them all come and go, and I've lost some money in some of those deals. And I don't want to see any of the other players that come in behind me do the same thing. So
What Marty hopes to do is institute a program whereby players would be encouraged to invest in one piece of property each year that they play.
if you're fortunate enough to play 8, 9, or 10 years, at the end of your career, you've got 8, 9, or 10 pieces of property that are worth something. Even if you don't want to be in the real estate business, at least you have something to fall back on.
When an athlete's career is over, every season becomes the off-season. Through their present off-season pursuits, Rich Marty and Jim Kovach are just two of the Saints who are prepared for more good times once their playing days are over. I'm Jim Bergamo reporting, Newscene 8.
Coming up on Newscene 8, Ron Swoboda with the rest of the day in sports. Of tonight's defeat. Thought we had him for a while there, buddy.
Okay, these are not the greatest of times. I'm standing here just outside the Saints locker room. It's a pretty disappointing 31-28. I may be underestimating the disappointment here. We could try to run you some highlights right now of the ball game. We've had it tied at 14 in the first half. Coming into the second half, tied at 14, third quarter, 3rd and 7 from their own 23. Stabler deep to the left side to Lindsey Scott. Great play. They needed a big play. It went for 35 yards to the Jets' 37-yard line. Then on 1st and goal from the 1-yard line, Wayne Wilson breaks the plane. It was 21-14. Saints things looking pretty good at that point. Next possession from their own 36-yard line. Hokie Gajan, the fullback, out of the split back position, broke for the biggest run of his pro career. It went all of 58 yards. Bobby Jackson, the cornerback, the only person to catch him. He did that on the 6-yard line. From there, a couple of plays later, George Rogers ran it into the right corner of the end zone for the touch. It was 28-14 Saints, and the Houdats were all over the dome tonight. But Leahy field goal at 28-17 in the fourth. He cut the lead. Then it was conservative time. Bum staying on the ground, trying to burn some clock up, got nowhere in 2 possessions while the Jets scoring points. Todd DeBarkham, a corner route for 11 yards, and the score was 28-24 at that point. And then Kurt Springs shocked him after 3 more George Rogers runs, got nowhere. Kurt Springs, who had been threatening to break him all night long. The Saints punt coverage really on the disappointing side, and it broke down here for 76 yards and what eventually became the winning score at 31-28 when Mort Anderson missed a 51-yard try for a field goal. And you could feel the dome sag, you could see the Saints sag, and Hokie Gajan, this one was a big one, and nobody needs to say that again and again. You had the biggest day of your pro career, 100-plus yards, over almost 10 yards a carry. Can you tell me how you feel at this point in time?
Well, you know, when you go into a game, you know, you can just be 100% on every play, and then, you know, at the end of the game, if you lose, then it always takes the edge off of it. You know, I'm satisfied with what I did, but then again, you know, we don't have another W in that column.
You're stuck now. You wanted to come out of this ball game with a win. It was there in your hands. Was it the problem of Monday Night Football, people adjusting to the change in the schedule? You know, was it too much placed on the defense? You know, you went conservative and tried to sit on the thing, and it seemed like it took the air out of the Saints.
Well, I don't know. You know, today was a long day, and I'm not using that as any excuse by no means. We just, you know, we got out there, and on that one possession, you know, I think George carried the ball twice, and we ended up with 3rd and 2, and they had a holding call, and I don't even know who it was on. And, you know, I'm by no means pointing the finger at anybody saying, well, that's the big reason right there, because it's not. And, you know, I just think that the officials were looking for something to call in that situation, and that set us back, and we ended up with about 2nd and 14 or something, and that put us in a hole.
Did you feel at the point when things were going that you know, that this thing was getting out of your grasp? Was there a sense of frustration at the end, even when you had a chance to tie it with a 51-yard field goal, that you had really spoiled your shot at it?
No, not really, because you know, I think at one time late in the or about midway through the 4th quarter, they were going down. Looked like they were moving the ball pretty well, and then our defense came up with a big play, you know, the fumble recovery. And we said, well, okay, our defense is, you know, they've held up to their own, and let's go out there and do our job. And, you know, it just didn't work out that way.
Okay, I know you're disappointed. I appreciate you coming out here and talking to us. That's it from the Saints locker room. We're going to take a break here. If you keep it right here, we'll tell you about the National League MVP. See you later. Kind of took me off the hook a little bit, as it was announced by the Baseball Writers Association that Darryl Strawberry, the rookie with the Mets who broke my rookie home run record with 26 home runs this year, has become the National League Rookie of the Year. And as I said before, it kind of makes me feel a little better that Strawberry, who eclipsed a record that was kind of dear to me, really went on to much better things. 26 home runs, 74 RBIs, a 257 average, 6'6" outfielder. He's got the world in front of him, and he just beat out Craig McMurtry of the Atlanta Braves for that National League Rookie of the Year. Other than that, the story here and the reason why we are standing outside the Saints locker room, they have had a terribly disappointing 31-28 loss to the Jets tonight. The Saints are now 6-6 with they're not 6-6, but they have 4 to play, and they are at 500. They're 6-6 right now with 4 to play, and that's the story here, and it's a tough one for them to take. Back to you, Richard.
All right, Ron Swoboda, thank you very much. Well, some good news. 1 block of sidewalk was completed downtown, and that was cause for celebration today. And LeBlanc says the sidewalks are contributing to the new look of Canal Street.
Champagne, clowns, and helium-filled balloons all added to the excitement of a morning that officials at Krause Department Store on Canal Street had waited for. Construction on new sidewalks in this block is complete. City officials helped to plant trees in front of the store to commemorate the day. Street and sidewalk reconstruction, as well as some major new developments, signal an emphasis on downtown New Orleans that, for a time, was missing. Some city officials say the image of Canal Street suffered a while back when some major merchants, like Maison Blanche, announced they were moving out.
And people just perceive that, understandably but wrongly, that downtown New Orleans was on the skids, that it was dying. And it's a very inaccurate perception, because when you compare the downtown district here, particularly when you consider that it's adjacent to the Vieux Carré, we really do have one of the most vibrant central business districts in all of America.
The river end of Canal is gleaming with tall new buildings, and the opposite end of the street is busy with activity as well. Maison Blanche department store will soon reopen its doors, and the Jung Hotel, closed for just about 2 years now, is expected to be back in business sometime before the World's Fair. All indications are that Canal Street has never looked more promising as a business area, an impression confirmed by statistics that show some 18% of all retail sales in the metro area are made right here. Anne LeBlanc, Newscene 8.
Bob Breck is next with the weather when Newscene 8 continues.